Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. This is perfect timing.
It's gonna be good. We're gonna have a lot of people in, so I need to make sure everybody's like messaging me. That's so funny.
I know. I was like, oh God, SOS, I need you to help me. Let me in.
I know, I love it. Hello, hello. All right, we're gonna keep people are coming in and muted, but you can unmute. We can chat. Feel free to unmute. All right, Randy's got her board. I love it. Katie, you got a board or something you're gonna use?
I do. I got a notebook here ready to go.
All right, girl, you're gonna want to draw it. So if you've got something, it might make you feel better.
All right.
Just
Let me get new resources then.
You don't have to though. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm Lindsay Soprani. If you're coming in, I'm going to tell you to go up to the top right, and you're going to want to put it in speaker view. And then I would tell you to then pin my video, which would mean you would go to the three dots next to the mute button in my name and pin my video. That way I stay in the center for you during this time. That'll help you. And we're going to let some people come on here. Let me. Welcome, welcome as people are coming on. And we are going to fix your life and businesses today. I'm so excited. All right. If you're looking for the link. All right. Come on, come on. I think people are having a hard time finding it. All right. So we've only got a few of you guys right now. I'm trying to see if everybody else is having a hard time coming on here. Give me 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. You guys didn't have a problem getting in, right? It's funny. I'm getting messages saying, I'm having a hard time getting in. I'm like, well, you just have to register and put your email in. That's all you had to do, right? Okay. Like, it's not hard. You're good. Make it happen. All right, and I'm going to take it live in the Soprani Consulting one too. Hey, Nicole, I see you coming in. Easy to join. Thank you. Although, let's be honest, I'll bet all the operations humans are doing just fine joining, and a lot of our agents are having a hard time. I could say that because I'm an agent. I can cut on us. All right. Let me go live in there too so that they can watch it streaming, but I'm not going to be answering questions there. All right. Anybody who's joining, if you have a whiteboard available, or like I've got the Post-it note things, these are like some of my favorite things when I'm dealing with this kind of stuff. Get it, because that'll just make this so much easier. It's very weird, but when you can start to visualize things up there, life is so much easier. So, all right, I'm gonna take this live in here. Hold on, because people are having a hard time. So let's see if we can't give them an access here, and then that way I can get started. That way I don't make you guys who are all totally on time wait. All right. All right, friends, here's the deal. We're going to get started. And that way people that can't make it, they can't make it. So there's that, which means that I will get even more time with you guys, which is actually awesome because I can help you. So here's the deal. We're going to look at a few slides, but just 2 or 3, because I truly have no desire to, sit here and talk at you guys about burnout. We all know what burnout feels like. And the truth is, if you're here, you're feeling it, right? Even if it's only a little bit, you're feeling it. And so the goal here is to not talk about mindset shifts or any of those things. You know that you control your mind, and you can get out of burnout if you're feeling that, right? And so the goal here today is truly to help you figure out how to remove it. And there's a whole business plan that we created for people around this. And so that's what we're going to share today, because the truth is 90% of the time when you're burnt out, it's because you're doing too much. You're saying yes to too many people. You're saying yes to too many things, which we're all guilty of, especially the operations people in here. You guys are very guilty of it. But we say yes to too many things. And when it's our boss or it's somebody that, it's a job that requires it, right? Like agents, here's the deal. Agents say yes to all the customers because they want to make hay while the hay's there, right? They want to bring it all in. So I got to make the money while I can make the money. They don't say no to anybody or anything because we got to make the money. That's how we survive, right? And so salespeople start to be like they're beholden to these people that are screaming and yelling at them, tell them they got to go see all these homes. And so we're all in the same boat. We're all saying yes to too many things and we're all stressed. So again, I'm going to show you this slide for like 2 minutes tops, and then we're going to actually dive in and do some true consulting here and get you out of this. So I could share my screen. You can see I made this in Canva, but we're not going to because we're not going to spend a ton of time on it. I just want to talk through what we're really experiencing with burnout. In fact, maybe I will present. Hold on. That way you guys can see it better. All right. So the warning signs are having a negative and critical attitude at work, dreading going into work and wanting to leave once you're there, having low energy or little interest at work, having trouble sleeping, being absent from work a lot, having feelings of emptiness, experiencing physical complaints such as headaches, illness, backache. P.S. That right there, that's the biggest one for real estate agents, because guess what? They don't get to just be absent from work. If you have to show homes and you're writing offers and the truth is people keep pulling at you, right? So you don't even have the ability to do it. That's what shows up the most for agents. All these other things can show up for the, inside sales or operations people, all that stuff. Being irritated easily by team members or clients. Again, that's an agent thing, big time. Operations people can experience it too, but they have less of that because they're nicer humans just in general. Having thoughts that your work doesn't have meaning or make a difference, pulling away emotionally from your colleagues or clients, feeling that your work and contributions goes unrecognized, blaming others for your mistakes, or thinking of quitting work or changing roles. All right, so the causes of burnout are lack of autonomy, lack of common values, dysfunctional teams and organizations, which, let's be honest, when we have small businesses, you guys, we're all basically building a plane in the air. So we're all dysfunctional, whether we like it or not. We might have systems, we might have some good things in place, but most of the time we're dysfunctional. Excessive workload, that's real estate just in general. That's small businesses just in general, right? Little to no support from the boss, lacking recognition, having a low stimulating work. We know this doesn't happen in real estate, barely ever. We're all stimulated constantly, whether we want to or not. Lack of purpose, lack of goals. All right. So here's the deal. This is what we're going to do today. We are going to do a job analysis with you. So I know that I am missing videos here with everybody. It'll be super fun if you bring your video on so that we can see you. But if you really just want to remain non-existent for right now, that's fine. What I'd love, hi Nicole, what I would love for you to do is turn your video on, engage, because you can't just sit and listen to this. This is like a legit, we're getting you out of burnout. So I need you to engage with me. Turn on your videos, friends. Videos. And here's the deal. What I need to know is, and I want you to raise your hands. I only have 2 people to raise their hands. Video. Come on, video. And I'm gonna have people disappear now. Hilarious. All right, so here's the deal. You're gonna raise your hand. Awesome. Hi. Thank you for video. So I want you to raise your hand if you have ever done a job analysis. Otherwise, keep your hand down. All right, that's the goal. And that is really, truly what we're doing today. And here's the deal. I think it's going to help you guys a ton, because while we just went over all of those burnout things in small business, one of the biggest reasons we burn out is because we're saying yes to too many people and we truly do not know how to delegate. How many here feel like they're really good at delegation? Great. All right, that was my hope. All right, so here's the deal. Do we have boards, or if you are doing it on paper, that's fine. Just know it's really easy to visualize this way. So if we're gonna teach you how to do this today, and then we're gonna come back, and I want you guys to do it this way. I want you to actually put them up on there if you're gonna do it with paper today, okay? And here's why, because this is a visualizing thing, and it's gonna help you a ton. Here's another thing. So I always tell people to bring a number of different colors. So if you've got pen or whatever, if you have a highlighter near and you're going to use a notebook, bring the highlighter out, or we can circle things, we can star things that become important, or we can underline them, right? So I want you to start to have some kind of method behind your madness for this job analysis. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to write down all of your tasks, all the things that you guys do. And I'm going to go through task by task by task, a ton of things that I know all of us do in the real estate world, because that's a majority of who's here. If you're somebody who is here in small business and it is not real estate, please, let me know in the chat, and that way I can help you kind of navigate this next part of the process here. But here's what we're going to do. I want you to think through every task you do. And again, I'm going to bring up a nice little document here for real estate that's going to help us navigate this. I want you to physically write down every task, but I want them in groups. So here's what we're going to do. Let me pull this up here. I got to sign back into iTunes. All right. So I want you to think through, let's just think about real estate in general, right? If we had to break it into groups, we've got pre-listing, we've got listing going live, right? There's a number of things that happen there. The listing period, we've got marketing things, all things marketing, other tasks, just weird, random other tasks. And PS, there's a lot of weird, random tasks that you guys are doing that you're going to have to write down. Nicole, you have a lot of weird, random tasks. So you're going to be one that's going to have to really, we're going to have to pull those out of you a little bit. Personal items other than items for the team. So if you've got like a lead agent or a boss or somebody that you do these weird things, or if you're an agent sitting here and you do weird things for another agent, right? I need all of those things on paper, and they need to go under the heading of weird and random, right? Or other. Seller contract to close. We've got buyer contract to close. Other management things, right? We don't think about technology issues. We don't think about the fact that somebody comes to me all the time when the stinking copier is broken, right? There's a lot of stuff we do. So we're going to go through these things. So let's go back though. If you're an agent or you're in the ops world, let's just talk pre-listing. What are all the things as an agent or an operations person that you have to do to get the listing going? Pre-listing, right? So for an operations person, we've got Start the action plan in a CRM probably, right? We're prepping listing docs. So is the agent. We're prepping a listing presentation. So is the agent. Agent's probably running comps, right? And getting all of those ready. They're looking up the property. Agent, you might drive by the property to see it. You might drop off a pre-listing packet before you get there, right? What are the things that are happening in pre-listing? Prepping the homework. So take 2 minutes. Let's write all those things down, right? And here's the deal. I want you to write them all down. And then when you're done, I just want you to say done. You'll have to unmute for that. So actually, I'm not going to write these down right now, but what I would do is I'd be writing them down with you. I'm going to keep calling things out that I know you might be doing in pre-listing, just in case. So like I said, you said you would do a drive-by. Sometimes we're dropping off presentations. Sometimes we're writing a thank you card that we're coming out. Sometimes we're sending a little gift. Running comps. Pre-listing's pretty easy, right? We don't have it yet. So there's not as many things. If you're joining us on Facebook Live because you couldn't get in, consider jumping in because we are actually going to help you get in here. So we're going to help you work through all this stuff rather. Let me see if there's any questions so far on there. We're going to help you work through all this stuff. Can you post the Zoom link? Yes. Try to come into Zoom because we're going to actually be able to help you specifically. And that would be awesome. It should be right in the Facebook group. Hold on. It's funny that some people are having a hard time with this and then others aren't. I don't know why it's having a hard time here. Hold on. Sorry for all of you guys that are on there. I'm going to post it in here for under the video. Please feel free to join. All right. Now we got people coming in. Awesome. All right. How are we doing? You want to raise your hand or unmute and say done if we're good? Now we got more people joining. Anybody that was watching online, hopefully you got all of that and you started to fill in the different things, right? But so let's talk about this. Did anybody have anything on the pre-listing side that I missed that you wrote down? We're good? Okay. Now, I want you to take a look at that list really quickly. And here's the fun part. Star. Okay, if you're on paper, you're going to either underline, highlight, star, circle the things that maybe don't need to be your thing. Maybe. Doesn't mean it's going to come off of you, but maybe somebody else could do that. So let's talk about that. That could be a virtual assistant. That could be an assistant. That could be the agent if you're on the ops team. That could be the personal assistant to the agent. That could be a runner. That could be a runner service, right? Let's keep talking through those things, but who could do that? And is it something? So highlight, star, whatever it is. And if you're highlighting, if you're underlining, star, if every time there's something that can be done by somebody else, you're going to continue to use that thing. So if you're highlighting, you're going to continue to highlight. If you're starring, you're going to continue to star through this whole process. Now, next piece here, I want you to do something different. So you're going to either star it, highlight it, circle it, whatever it is, but it's got to be something very different. And you've got to remember that this is the different thing. Do you like doing it? Does it give you energy? If it does not, you're circling it. So if you're like, ugh, every time I run comps, it makes me want to vomit. I want that highlighted or circled or starred. Anything that you legitimately hate, you're going to mark it down. Make sense? Okay. That's where the different colors come in. They're fun because if you different color these things, it starts to make it, oh, look at this whole page of yellow of things I hate, right? Guess what? You're probably making a hire soon. And then if you're in the ops world and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate all these things, I need to hire, then guess what your next move is? You get to figure out how much more money do we need to make as a company and how can I help the agent do that so that I can offload some of these things, right? We're not in the clear. We're not just hiring. We're figuring out what does this need to look like. If you're an agent and you're hating all the things, you're leveraging probably to an admin, right? A virtual assistant, somebody. And again, how much money do you need to make in order to leverage? All right. Everybody good? We've got some highlights and stars and things. Or everybody loves every part of that job, right? Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's go to listing, going live. All right, so these are just a number of things. Can everybody kind of see this list? Is it visible enough? Okay. I want to make sure it's big enough. So task-wise, we've got scheduling and uploading photos, Matterports, doing all those things, right? You might be somebody taking photos and doing the Matterports and stuff. Bless your heart, but write it down. All right, MLS entry, right? Creating property highlights. If you're creating some kind of document for that, maybe you're checking the listing on like Trulia and homes.com, Zillow, realtor.com. I hope you are. If you're not, you should add that. Create a virtual tour. I think those are crap. You might still do it. Awesome. Creating a property website. Definitely something that a lot of people are doing, right? That takes time. Brochures, flyers, printing something that goes to the house, checking on KWLS if you're KW, checking on other systems if you're not KW, entering showing instructions into showing time, or worse, not having showing time and handling all of that yourself, right? Typing out homework if there is any. So let's think about that. Like, we're probably checking on, are all the documents signed? Do we actually have, the seller's property disclosure totally filled out, right? We're looking at all that stuff. We're checking on it. Somebody's doing those things. Dot loop and DocuSign, sending everything out for signatures. Hopefully you've got templates all created so that you're not having to do the little form every single time. Submit the loop to you've got an MCA, or if you're not with Keller Williams, you're submitting it to your office manager, right? And it might not be a loop. It might be through DocuSign. It might be through Command. There's a million different things. What are you doing there? You're recording a lockbox and sign information somewhere, hopefully in showing time as well as in a CRM. You're uploading utilities or presentation of offers or seller's disclosures, documents into an MLS. You might be ordering a home warranty. You might be notifying an agent or a listing manager, everything's ready to review. You're definitely going to get ready to deliver a sign in a lockbox. Somebody's doing all of that, right? You might be blogging. You might be posting the property to social media. You might have other marketing that's not listed above that you're doing. You're probably setting up staging in a lot of cases, right? Let's think of other things that people are doing during the listing period. We're definitely placing calls to our sellers. Who's doing that? Are you doing that? Are you managing the process of getting it all ready? That's a task. Are you sending thank you notes in this part? So keep writing. If anybody has ones that I've missed, call them out. I'm going to pull up in our consulting. This is what we do, is we create all of the processes here. So we're going to pull up the listing process. Let's just see if there's anything that's not on there. We've got introduction calls from somebody, probably an admin if you're not an agent on here. You might be scheduling the brokers open in an open house. You're taking a property live in the MLS. You're probably getting, marketing okay from a seller. Updating all the information in a database, like the birthday, and putting contact types on and different codes in your CRM. Anybody have any other ones that we're missing there? Okay. Do we think we're ready to highlight and circle or whatever we're going to do? Yes? All right. We're going to highlight, underline. Are there things on there that somebody else could do that maybe you don't need to do? So again, do we have a runner? Could a runner do something, right? Could somebody else, another admin on the team, another operations person, could a VA do something? What things don't you need to do? So let's underline all of those. I would imagine that you're starting to see how if you have it up in front of you and you can kind of step back and look at the whole list, it's really nice to be able to, highlight and everything. So don't forget to try to do that later. All right. Next, we're making the I hate to-do list. What things do we hate? And then I'm going to ask somebody to just share with us a little bit, maybe some things that they're like, man, I really don't know that I need to do these. Somebody else could possibly do these. And I want to see, are they the things you hate or are they different things? Is anybody willing to share? Katie, thank you.
I've realized lately I hate anything social media, marketing, all of that. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. So we're trying to get something, an intern, a company, anything. But it's all the things that I have. Someone else can do it, and I hate this.
And it's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah. Very interesting how that happens a lot of the time. Now, if you're in a bigger company and you're taking on the brunt of things, so Elizabeth's here. So we could see her taking on a lot of different things that maybe she doesn't need to be doing, right? Job analysis wise, she's probably, if she's making the list, she's probably got a number of things that she could potentially pass off on somebody. But she might have already passed a lot of those things off too. So it's just a matter of, what kind of business are you really in right now? And what things, are you not loving that you do? Anybody else have some examples of what they've got on there that maybe they don't need to do? Yeah, Nicole.
Not that I don't need to do, but I really hate writing the description of the properties, because if I don't have anything to go off of, I never have enough. And I'm like, maybe this is close. I'm not sure.
I love it. So, what's awesome is, so in the operations world, we normally have the people that really love the tasky things, like, let me get everything to close. I love contract to close, and let me do all the putting everything in, but give me all the things. I don't want to have to think, or I don't want to have to do the marketing pieces, right? Because if you're a task heavy person and you like that stuff, you're the to-do human, right? Marketing people are totally different. They've got this different brain. They're creative. They want to create. That's fun for them, right? So again, that'll show up in this. And that's why the job analysis is really important to do all regularly. But what's really important is you have tasks out there that you guys are doing that are once a month that you don't even think about it, right? So we'll get to those, answering the phones for random questions and answering all of the agent questions that are coming at you, right? There's so many things you guys are doing that you're just not, you don't even think about as a task, but they're tasks. All right, listing period. So these are some of the things that happen. And again, there's plenty of others, but let's just talk through some of these things, and it might jog your memory on things that happen that you're not thinking about. price reductions to listings, right? Not only are you doing it in the MLS, you're having to do it on websites and wherever else you've put it, right? If you blogged it, guess what? You got a price reduce in the blog, right? All those different places. You're probably updating, you know, photos and video with weather changes. Now, here's the deal. A lot of you guys, the people that have been in the business for a long time, like I have, those kind of tasks are on there because we used to have listings that stayed around for a while. And guess what? When it was winter, we wanted them to look better in the spring. So we would change the photos. But those are things that we're not even thinking about right now because we're all selling homes within a minute, right? But it's a thing. Adding brokers open and open house to all the places, right? Every time we do another open house, again, people have been around for a while. We used to do open houses every weekend for like 10 weeks. Right? We were talking to sellers every single week for sometimes months, right? I want phone conversation with seller to be on there. Conversations with agents, agent questions. Think about how often your phone rings just with a question about the listing, okay? That's a lot of stuff. Updating showing instructions if we need it, that happens. Pending or listing in as active O, or, you know, whatever you guys call it in your state. Active under contract is what a lot of you guys call it. Handling expiration dates for listings in the MLS, right? We've got to track those expired, you know, we don't want anything to expire on us. So we got to track all of that. That's something that happens, you know, once in a listing period, but it happens. What other things happen in a listing period that we're not thinking about? Besides massive communication with a seller, especially when they're hanging around for a long time. Price reduction conversations. Anything else I'm missing? All right. Circle and highlight. What things do we hate? And what things could somebody else do? Whether it's an agent, or if you're an agent, it's an admin. And here's the deal. If you're an agent, guess what? An admin can do all of the things. I was an admin to an agent. He would go on a listing appointment. I did all of the other things. I negotiated every single thing. I never even walked in a house. I wrote every description. I never walked in a house. So if I'm able to do it, it's possible for you, right? So again, if you're an agent, it's all the things. All the things can come off of you if you really want. And if you have talent matters. Admin / operations, humans, all the things can come off of you as well. If you've got talent in a virtual assistant or in another assistant. And here's the deal. This is going to help you create job descriptions of the things that you don't want to do anymore, that maybe you don't need to do, that somebody else could totally do. And guess what? They might love marketing. They might love all these things that are on your list that you hate. That's the beautiful thing about this. All right, let's go marketing world. And again, if you're a small business, I haven't had anybody tell me that you're just a small business owner. If you're a small business owner, a lot of these things, they make sense. I can come alongside of you and I can give you a lot of, you know, just small business in general. Like we can go through your processes and what you do to get things, you know, a client onboarded and all those things. All right, but marketing, let's talk about those. So monthly newsletter, you've got a 36 touch or just a marketing plan for a whole year. Event coordination. Some of that's a little bit weird right now, but a lot of us are doing events without hanging out, right? Website updates for the team. So think about, I know Katie has made 1 million updates to her website, right? Like there are updates regularly. We have team members leave if we're big teams, and guess what? We have to update it again, right? And actually, there's a ton of things you have to update. Think about that in the marketing world. Team member leaves, all of a sudden your listing presentation, if it has meet the team in it, that changes every time, right? There's all those different things. So changes to the information in our life when somebody leaves or adds to our team. Updates to other sites as part of onboarding. So again, you know, adding somebody to top producer or Brivity or Command or KW or Remax or whatever, all that stuff. We've got to add them all everywhere. Social media management. I mean, we've already heard that that's a thing that some people are like, ugh. Guess what? There's a lot there. 10-year buyer plan management. So following up with buyers for 10 years, right? Everybody buys and sells within 7 years. That's the average. And so if we know that, we got to stay in touch with them. Client gift management. So are we giving them a gift when we, settle? Are we giving them something in the middle? Here's some movies or pizza. I know you're packing. Good luck on your move. What are you doing with that? Referral management. That's a big one. Who's doing that? What are we doing that? If you're not doing that, some of this stuff you're writing down, hopefully saying, oh, we need that and we need this. And then you can say, who does that, right? And we're going to plot them somewhere else. Review management. How are we getting reviews? Are we getting reviews? Is there a system around it? Birthday and home anniversary management. Well, if you're on a team, you're having to manage birthdays for your team members. It's one of the biggest things that I fall flat on my face with. Lead system management and creation and monitoring. Oh, I can't even say that right now. Lead plans. So think about it. Lead plans, like we have to actually look at them on a regular basis and we have to adjust them, change them, right? Create new ones. So my whole team, like when COVID hit, we had to create all new lead plans. We changed a lot of our lead plans because they just didn't feel like they should feel. All of those things. Everybody was dealing with what I would call the 5 stages of grief. And here we're like, hey, you ready to buy a house? Like it just wasn't, I don't know, it didn't make sense. So we redid a lot of those things. Somebody has to manage all of that. How about thank you cards, notes? Creating websites for, properties and new listings, and blogging can go under there. And there's so many things that we do with the marketing world. All right. So now that we've got those written down, and I'm sure there's more that you could add, but now we have them written down, highlight, star, what do we hate? What do we maybe not need to do? And in that category, I also want you to consider another thing. So maybe you're, using a different color or whatever. What things are we not doing right now that we need to do, right? Because here's the deal, we might actually have to make a list of like, hey, we need that 10-year plan and we need a 36 touch. Like we don't have a marketing plan for the whole year, or we need social media to be better. So somebody needs to own that at some point. Again, that could be an entire position that gets hired because of doing this. And again, then we just have to see, do we have the money for it? Do we not have the money for it? How do we get there? How many more homes do we need to sell? How much more business do we need before we can bring that position in? And then now we're starting to have a job description for that position. Is this starting to make sense? All right. Keep going. I don't want to rush you. Here's the deal. Other personal items. Is most people on here admin operations, or do we have agent on here? So if you're an agent, when you think other and you think personal things, I want you to consider that like your household is a whole nother thing that is causing or potentially causing you stress that you might need to consider, right? So this year, my husband and I were like, we have to hire a personal assistant, because when we looked at our home, one, we have kids at home for the first time ever, and we're trying to work from home and whatever, right? So it was a disaster. So we needed a nanny component for us. But two, we needed somebody anyways. Like I can't even open all of my mail. So I need somebody to open my mail, right? So a personal assistant comes in, they grocery shop for me. They are, opening my mail and putting it in piles of what I need to look at and handle. They are maybe scheduling all of our doctor's appointments, our dentists. I don't even, the other day she was like, hey, I scheduled a doctor appointment for the girls. It looks like they weren't there since 2019. And I'm thinking 2019, that's crazy. And I was like, well, actually 2020, we didn't go anywhere. And yeah, that's probably about right. But that was like 2 years, I'm not keeping track of all that stuff, right? She's going to keep track of that stuff for me. So I want you, if you're an agent in this room, I want you to consider that some of the things you're doing and that are draining you are household things that potentially could go on the list. Here's the beautiful thing too. If you're an ops person and you've got kids and you've got a household that's busy and your company life is driving you nuts and you've got a million things there, you might need to consider the same thing. What would happen if you never had to mow your lawn again? We can hire a lawn service if we haven't already, right? We can hire somebody to grocery shop, or we can have the groceries delivered to us regularly. We can set it up in a system, right? So again, I want you to think all tasks, other things that are pulling you, and they can be household things. Let's get it all on this list today. And I'm going to keep spitting things out at you, but database management. And again, the goal, just write these things, guys, as much when it hits you and you're like, yes, I have that thing. I need to do that thing, right? Do it. If you're somebody who's older, has older kids, you're probably driving them around everywhere, right? You're a chauffeur. You probably need a chauffeur. Craigslist posts. We barely ever do that anymore, but some people do still. So I stick it on there still. And other lead generation things, right? So you might be posting in other places that I'm not thinking of. Write that down. Mailing things. Who gets the stamps? Who keeps track of all the organization around that? Are you mailing things yourself? Could you just have a company mail the things, right? Like Canva or Vistaprint or whatever. Answering the phones. Your phone rings a lot. Answering the phone should just be on there, just in general for every person. Dropbox, Google Drive organization, all that stuff. Think about, I mean, I'm sure we could all raise our hand and say that that has become, its own little monster. If you've been running a business for a long time, people junk it up like crazy. And there's all these things in there that it's like, if only somebody could just, this could be their thing and they could own it and let it not get all messy and messed up, right? Let's put that on there. Because here's what you're not thinking about. You're going into the Google Drive every day, or you're going into Dropbox and you're seeing all the things, and every day it takes up space in your mind. You go, God, someday I'm going to organize that. Someday. And it's not the most important thing, right? But I want you to keep thinking of those things, those other things, you guys, that when you go in there and you're like, oh, someday, right? So for me on here, the other day, I'm sitting in front of my admin team for my real estate team. And I was like, hi, we have all this video training and it's so awesome. And then COVID hit and all of our videos are out to date. Or like the other day, our Philadelphia office decided to switch banks. Well, guess what? That means all of the things that I have, like with all my automatic stuff, that's like, here are the wiring instructions, right? All wrong. So everything has to get changed. The old wiring instructions are still in my drive. I hate that because I might go and pull those. I don't know, right? They got to go. The new one has to go in, and there needs to be a new training video around all of that doesn't say Wells Fargo anymore and says WSFS or whatever it is, right? But we got to switch all that stuff. Who does that? When something changes, who's doing the things, right? All running duties. So if you're an agent sitting here and you're running a sign, or you're running a lockbox, or you're changing a rider out, or God forbid you're doing brochures and they run low, or any of those things, and you're having to run to the house and do all those things, and that's on you, I want you to automatically underline that fun little thing, because we're going to find a company to do that for you. That's an easy one to offload. So all runner things. Let's talk about more personal things. So occasional errands. If you're an admin, you might be doing occasional weird errands for somebody. Rentals. A lot of times we don't think about all the things that go on with, like, if we're going to take a rental. And yes, Nicole, you have so many of these, so you got to write so many things down about this for rental management. But again, if you're managing rentals or you are putting them up, there's a whole thing for that, right? So just put rentals down and all the things that go along with it. I mean, we know that if we have a rental, like we've got 60 plus people that are wanting to see that thing, right? That in itself is a management issue. And it's not just agents taking them through, right? It's people coming at us wanting to see it. So you have to manage all of that. And guess what? If you write something like that down, we went to a place where it was like, okay, let's let it sit for 3 days. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we'll hold it open for a couple hours. And then all of those people that have called us can come and see it in 4 hours time. period. And if you miss out, you miss out, right? That's what we went to because we did this plan and we highlighted it and we're like, this is a disaster for us. We got to figure something out. And that's what we went to. We created a system and a process around it because we figured out that this was a pain point for us. It didn't mean another person. It just meant we had to figure out how to fix it. Writing contracts, just in general, you're writing a lot. Negotiating contracts. We're all negotiating. Negotiating inspections. Getting all of the quotes from the vendors for the inspections, right? That's a thing. It takes a long time. Somebody's doing it. And guess what? Managing your vendor relationships. What does that look like? Who's doing that? When a handyman screws you over, how do they go off the list? Does a new one come on? That roofer that just went over there and totally stole all the money and didn't do the roof. What happens to that one? Are we going to sue him? Right? Like there's, again, it's mental stuff with contractors. Just put contractor management on there because we're all having to do it. Coordinating the walkthroughs, going to the walkthroughs. Is somebody attending an appraisal? Is somebody attending inspections? Do you have to attend an appraisal? Do you have to attend inspections? I want you to write all those things down and I want you to think through those things. And now it's time to highlight and star all of the things. And here's the deal. I know that you guys can all take some time after this and write more tasks. And as you're going through your day, you're going to be like, oh, that should be on there. I want you to keep these lists near you, which is exactly why if you do go back and you write it up here somewhere and you have it in your office, you can run over and just be like, this is under listing. I did this today, right? And you can start to add to it so that you can back up and go, holy moly, like look at all these things that I do in a day that maybe somebody else can do, right? Or a company can do or something. Highlight, circle, take a little bit more time before I move you on to the next section. Are people starting to see that they could hire like 90 people for all the things? We do a lot. In real estate, we do a ton. And small business in general, it really, truly, it's a lot of work. And a lot of times we don't even think about all the things that we do. Just to add somebody into one of our databases, whether it's Command or Brivity, Top Producer, Lion Desk, whatever it is, that takes on average 20 minutes for somebody to do. Every agent out there is like, that takes like 2 minutes. Guess what? It doesn't. It takes 20. If you're good, maybe you can do it in about 12. And if that's no distractions, if your phone rings or you get a text message from the boss or whoever, you're distracted, right? So it takes you 20 minutes. All right. How many people are hiring a personal assistant for their life? I hope so. All right. Seller contract to close. Oh, you guys, buyer and seller contract to close. There's a ton of things that you do. So most of you probably have a contract to close list. If you don't, you can have mine. Reach out to me after this and I can give it to you. But let's just go over some big ticket items that like we know we have to hit so that they're on your list as you're starting to write all this down. So if you're in like Pennsylvania or, you know, there's a lot of different states where we call things conveyancing. If you're in a state that doesn't use the word conveyancing, it's just ordering a mortgage payoff, ordering, you know, the tax certifications or any utility certifications. If there's a use and occupancy or a certificate of occupancy, CO, HOA involved, that's what conveyancing is. And so sometimes the title company does that and you don't even have to worry about it. Sometimes an attorney does it and you don't have to worry about it. Sometimes you have to do it. Every state's different. So we have that on there. Following up on all of those information, making sure that we get it. Ordering title. Just kidding. On sellers, we're not doing that. We will on buyers though. Let me stay in my lane. Seller side. Sending utility information to the buyer's agent. Having them switch it over, right? It's just a thing that most of us have to do every time. Making sure that all correct info is in our database. Again, if it's a seller, we're changing the address to their new address when they sell, right? There's lots of companies that aren't doing that. Creating a green sheet or, you know, now a lot of people in KW are in Command and and you're having to go through and do all of that stuff and create the opportunity. You're checking docs in .loop or DocuSign. You're submitting to an MCA or a manager. In some offices that we work with, you're actually having to print all of the things out and give it to your manager, which is like, can't. Adding all the important dates to a calendar, keeping track of them, making sure that you hit them. Some of you are having to order the escrow check. Some of your title companies and attorneys are doing that. You're having an intro call, walking people through the process. Lots of phone conversations in contract to close, right? So you can just put phone calls. Coordinating closing with title company or the attorneys and the buyers and the sellers. Ordering a deed package for the sellers if you're doing that. Removing the staging, which a lot of us as agents forget about until we're like at the last minute, then we're paying extra money for staging removal. Canceling the home warranty if it wasn't negotiated during the contract, if you put one on in the listing period. Posting to social media that we're under contract. Receiving a CD and an ALTA from a title company and an attorney to review it with our clients. Obtaining the quotes for inspection items. Making sure they were negotiated. Remember, when I say the important dates, we've got, the appraisal. We've got all of those things. Who's following up with all those things, right? Are we going to an appraisal? Are we having to actually attend that? Again, inspections, we're negotiating those. We're getting quotes on the seller side, setting up a home anniversary in a system so that we can continue to stay in touch with people. All of those things. And then there's a million other things that you've got to do too, but that's like the bulk of the seller side, that if we do this, we should be okay. Buyer side, you can just keep writing on the buyer side here. So obtaining utility information from the listing agent, so getting it on the other side, setting up the home anniversary systems, making sure that all the correct information is in the database, applying a post-buyer action plan, preparing buyer packets for agents, tracking deposit checks, communication with buyers and inspections and critical dates. Again, staying, on top of all those important dates, right? Did the deposits get there on time? Did the inspections, did we negotiate them on time? Did we get through the appraisal pieces? Did we get through the mortgage commitment? All that stuff. Reviewing the CD for accuracy, reviewing it with the buyers. Again, phone conversations. Green sheet, command, whatever you're doing to submit it to your office manager or your MCA, scheduling the settlement for all parties, obtaining quotes for inspections on this side as well. A lot of people do that on the buyer side as well. And just in general, managing that entire process, right? There's a lot to do there. So now that you've gone through contract to close, though, let's go ahead and highlight, circle, star things. What could somebody else do for you? And what things do you hate? There should be a lot of things there that you do. And again, there's so many other to-dos. So just know that we're just trying to bring about like the core things that you guys are handling. But there's little tiny to-dos in all of these to-dos, and you know that. And so if you come across a big one that you're like, hey, I didn't write that down, or I didn't think about that, you're going to want to write it down. And again, who could do that? Or could a VA do that? Or could a company, somebody who does contract to close handle that for you? Could a system handle that? So Folio is one of my favorite things. It's an extension to Google, to Gmail. And it literally, for like I think it's $40 to $50 a month. I can't remember. You can create the timeline of all the important events. So deposits, inspection contingency, all the lender things, the mortgage contingency stuff, walk through all that stuff. And you can literally share that timeline with every party involved. In addition, it automatically sorts all of your emails into folders with the addresses. And then it takes like all the documents that are associated with those people and puts it there, all the contacts associated with it. It does it automatically through Google. And sometimes that's all somebody needs to do is pay $40 to have all their emails sorted into files and just have some organization, right? $40 a month. Who wouldn't pay that to have a system do that for them so that their life gets easier and they can find things? Could you imagine just going into your email and going into Folio, and then every document that's ever been sent to you about that property is in one little place with every single document, you see all of it automatically. You didn't have to do it. Then you could just download them all, upload them into DocuSign or .loop or whatever it is, and boom, you're done, right? Whole new ball game. All right. Office management to-dos. So there's lots of things you guys are doing that are management or considered management that maybe you don't even need to do, right? So like you're going to see some of these like technology issues, schedule training on all new hires. So, oh my gosh, you know, most of you guys, I would imagine, are training newbies. And if you're like me, you're training these newbies, and then 4 months later, they're like, this is too hard, I'm leaving, right? That happens to all of us. And so it's like, good God, I just spent 4 months with you, right? That's horrible. But it's a thing, it's what we're doing. And guess what? It sucks your time up. And so write it down. You're scheduling them, their first 100 days of training, you know, daily stand up, like keeping track of like a huddle. Are you having to come prepped with huddle stuff? Are you prepping those things? Are you prepping like your, you know, weekly or monthly team meeting, and like how much time goes into that stuff? Are you the right person to do it? I'm very much this, right? I'm like, let's get all the things done. Let's handle all the things. I don't normally come prepped with the rah. Like, it's just not who I am. So guess what? I hired a rah person. Bridget's great at it. Sometimes she makes my agents cry when she's like, we're going to do this morning. And they're all like, ugh, right? But it's great because she's good for our team. All right. Continually increasing your knowledge of new systems, learning and training on them. I cannot tell you how many operations people come to me regularly and are like, so he wants to get a new system. So now I'm, you know, looking at all those. That takes hours and it takes a long time, you know, just to go and do that. So it might only happen once every 6 months or hopefully once every 3 years. But guess what? It happens. It's taking your time away. Employee contracts, managing all the employee stuff. Like, do you have, you know, all of those things organized somewhere? If somebody gets in a car accident and you're the only one who knows, how do you call their significant others? Are you able to? Do you have those files managed somewhere? If you don't, you need to. It's one of the most important things. Agents, everything that they need, take as much off of them as possible if you're an operations person, right? Like there's just so many other little things that agents do that an ops person could help with, right? And so we just want them to think through it. If you're an agent right now, like I literally want you to sit there and think of like, what are all the office things? So like we're going to go into bookkeeping and writing checks to pay bills, and, you know, are we writing checks for birthdays? Are we giving Christmas bonuses? Like those are all mental things that somebody else could help and prep for, right? So like, I don't have to be the one that every single year is like, what am I going to do for all my people for Christmas, right? And ordering all the things. I can bring somebody else in on that with me and have them help me with it. And they could plan it ahead of time, because guess what? I'm going to think about it on like December, like 20th. The 25th is like too soon, right? Keeping paper trail bookkeeping. The paper trail is important. You know, calling in the payroll, handling the payroll, talking to ADP, Gusto, whatever. You know, how do we get all of that stuff out? If we have 1099s, are we sending 1099s at the end of the year? Who's handling, you know, all the IRS stuff, all the mail that comes in for a company? Weekly P&L reporting. Are we even looking at our books? 90% of agents that I come in contact with are not looking at their books every single week. I was also somebody like that, and I got myself into a lot of trouble. Actually managing those things, looking at your expenses, highlighting the things that you're like, are we really using this? Do we need it? Do we not? And doing that weekly or bi-weekly is very important. Training, mentoring, agents, admin, all of the things, right? Anybody who comes in, virtual assistants, creating the systems around all of that. Who's creating the systems to train? Who's, you know, Who is handling the accountability on the team if you've got a team? Who meets with agents right now to go over 411s, right? Who's holding them to their goals? That's a thing. Recruiting. Who's recruiting? Is anybody recruiting? God forbid the person sitting next to you decide to leave you tomorrow. What do? Do you have a bench? How are you handling that? P.S. We have a company that recruits. You can leverage that. That's the only one I'll give you. Tracking all lead gen numbers. So again, agents aren't tracking any of their numbers. How many phone calls did it take for them to make before the contact came in and then they made an appointment? They should know those things. We should be tracking them. We can use Sisu, which is a system that does it, or we can put them in a spreadsheet, whatever you want to do, right? What other things are you thinking about that you do that are not on here? Ordering supplies. Organizing somebody's calendar. There are a lot of times when somebody will say, back when I was an assistant, it was, I want to be able to go to one place, one city at a time. So it'd be like, okay, so all the showings of all the clients that are in Downingtown need to happen on Thursday, right? And I used to have to figure that out and manage that, right? Are you managing somebody's calendar? Are you managing your own calendar? Are you managing a Slack system? There's so many things that we do. So I really want you to start to think through those. We're hitting 12 o'clock just as we get here. So here's the deal. How many people feel like they've actually created, by a show of hands, how many people actually feel like they've created jobs that they could hire for? Yeah, right? Here's what I really need you to see in this. Burnout comes from all those things we talked about in the beginning. But the truth is, you're burnout because you have a lot on you, and it's okay. Now we have to figure out, should you have all that stuff on you, right? Or could some of it go to somebody else? So like I said, it's really easy to be like, hey, maybe we should get a sign company that just helps us for a little bit. Let's just see what that cost is. Let's look at it. And then if it doesn't feel like it's in the budget right now, that's okay. We just have to make a plan to figure out how could it be in the budget? Because it's taking me all this time and all this energy, and I'm not able to do all the other things. So then I'm doing those at night, right? Or you might be somebody that's looking at your personal life going, oh my gosh, I have all these things, right? And that are pulling at me in my personal life. If I could just get somebody to do some of these things, which guess what, might be a part-time person. It might be somebody on your team already that's like, I just want a little extra money to play with. Like they might order your groceries as long as they know what you want, and it might help you with some of that stuff, right? I want you to try to get creative with the things that you've starred and the things that you've highlighted or whatever you've done there. And I really want you to start to figure out, what is important and what should I really have on my list and what things really might not need to be on my list, and how do I figure out how to get those off? And then if those things also correlate with the I hate to do list, because you just created one, right? If you've got that I hate to do list, like if I could never do these things again the rest of my life, I'd be so happy in my job. Guess what? That's a job description, right? Somebody else would love to do those things. And so now it's a matter of going, okay, now I get that. I understand all of that. And I see it on paper, right? I can see it. So now how do I visualize and figure out how to make all those things come off of me? Because you have the power to do that. And if you're an agent, listen, I mean, leveraging a lot of those things to an admin, it's so nice now that you have this list of like, oh my gosh, if I could just do that, or to an admin, or did I say an admin or an agent? If you're an agent, you can leverage to an admin or a virtual assistant or even another agent. Like I said, if there's somebody that's like a little bit organized and they're like, I just need a little extra money, like maybe you let them do some of those things, right? I just want you to recognize that if you're an agent though, and you leverage for the first time and you start giving stuff to somebody, you're never going to be able to go backwards, because it's so hard to take those things back, because now you know that they don't give you any energy and they totally hold you down and they hold you back, right? And they burn you out. And so once you leverage, it's like, I can never go back. And then it's a funny thing. You find the money to leverage, right? And you just keep leveraging because it just feels so good to not do those anymore. All right. So anybody can unmute. What questions do we have? What things did we not talk about? Are you feeling a little bit better? Or you might be feeling really stressed about, oh my God, I have all these things that I know I hate. If you're feeling stressed about it, then I want to challenge you and think about like, that's not a stress thing. It's a knowledge is power thing. Now I have the knowledge I don't love these things. Now I have the knowledge that they burn me out. That's why I'm burnout, because I'm doing these things that I don't really love. And if I could get those off of me, that'll be great. Guess what? When you have knowledge is power, you get to go and try to figure it out. Like, okay, so if I know marketing, so Katie and Nicole, awesome. You guys shared that you didn't love the marketing aspects of your job, right? Here's the deal. Like now you could call 5 companies, get all of the pricing around what would it look like for them to do X, Y, and Z for you? And maybe it makes sense. Like maybe it's not that much. Maybe you're just really stressed about it because it feels like so much. But if somebody came back to you and was like, I'll do all of that for you for $99 a file, the boss might jump at that, right? Like, so let's not be like, oh my God, so much. Let's look at it as knowledge is power. Now I have power. Now I need to figure out what the leverage piece is, right? It could just be folio. Folio could help you organize something, right? It could be a system. So I don't want you to feel the stress. What I want you to feel is this is power for me. And now I get to take all these things and just figure out the solution. It might be a virtual assistant. So let's talk about virtual assistants and then I'll open it up for questions. But you could call Clint at Level, who's awesome. They will find you somebody, they'll try to find you somebody in 3 months or 3 weeks. 3 months would be horrible. 3 weeks. And here's the deal, $12.50 a month. And you don't even have to sign a year contract. Clint will let you do it month by month. Tell them I sent you. $12.50 a month for some of the tasks that maybe you don't need to do. Is that worth it? Yes. Every day of the week. You could call Cyberbacker. They'll find you one. They'll find you somebody like tomorrow. They have all these candidates they already have, right? And they'll give you a bunch of people. You have to decide with people in 24 hours and move them through in 24 hours. Like it's fast. And then you could have somebody right away. They're $1,500 a month. Mod, my Outdesk, same thing, right? Now you're going to sign a contract for longer. But again, what if we got a virtual assistant from Level and it was just a month-long contract? And if it didn't work, it wasn't the end of the world. We could go do something else. Might be worth it. If you've got 1 million leads in a database and nobody's following up with them and nobody's looking at them and nobody's putting them on property drips and whatever, could a virtual assistant for $12.50 a month do that? Yes, everybody, yes. Right? We can teach them how to do that. So again, depending on what's on your list, there's so many options. And so talk to me. How are you feeling? What questions do you have about this? Yes.
Yes. So we have virtual assistant, and one of the biggest challenges, I give all the marketing stuff, but the biggest challenge is how do you deal with the cultural difference that they don't understand, because I feel like I'm ending up doing kind of double the work instead of feeling better about it. It's more stress.
So, and I'd love to hear what other people think of on this. Actually, Elizabeth might be somebody that can help on that too. My answer to that is I like to give virtual assistants task things as much as possible. So in other words, for my social media, they have templates that they live in. And it's like when somebody goes under contract, you use this template and it goes in. And when something is, sold, it's this template and right. It's very task heavy because I don't have to worry about those things. However, if we're going to have them do more, then yeah. So what I do until they get up to speed is I say, send me a quick email with what you want to do and I can tweak it. But then here's the deal. When I tweak, I need to make sure they learn what my tweaks are. So then we've got to jump on, and this is extra work for a while, but we got to jump on the phone or jump on videos, my preference, and go, do you understand why do you feel like I made these tweaks? Do you understand why I made them? And what do you like next time? How are you going to remember to do these things? I want to ask them for feedback on what we changed and what we did so that they learn. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a virtual assistant for a short amount of time. And that was my experience too, Nicole, was that it was double work because I felt like I was having to explain everything that I did. And so looking back, some of the mistakes that I know that I made was that I needed a step-by-step, like not just a video, but on paper, like a PDF of screenshots, and step 1 is this, step 2 is this, would have helped tremendously. And then daily conversations and Zoom calls, I relied too much on chat to try to explain things, when being face to face, or at least on the phone, would have helped tremendously on a daily basis.
Yeah. Feedback, right? What did you learn by me changing this? What did, and talk through it, because that'll help them so much. But it's really interesting. Once you do that for about, here's the deal, that's going to take 3 months. It takes 3 months for anybody, really, right? Once you do it for 3 months, then you've got a rock star with you who's learned why you did things and why you made those changes, and they can start to get it. If they're not getting it, you're the wrong person. So we just got to remember that. And Nicole, I don't know if you have your video, but I'd love for Nicole really quickly. I mean, she put something in here. She said, do you have to do all these things, right? Seems like a big, important question. The 80-20 rule is really important. You don't have to do all those things. Those are a bunch of things that we might do, or we could do, right? And I always tell everybody that real estate's like laundry. Like, we always have more laundry. Like, it's never ending, right? We could always be doing laundry, whether it's doing the wash, or putting it away in a drawer, or putting it in a pile that never gets in the drawer, whatever it is, right? There's always so many things. It's the exact same thing. So Nicole, I'd love for you to just speak for 2 seconds, because we're running over, but what would that look like? You're muted.
There I am. Yeah, I think about this so differently, because I'm super out of the business, you guys, and I've hired virtual assistants that haven't worked out. I don't want to manage anyone anymore. I really like my freedom. So I'm realizing, I work with my husband also, and he would be considered the rainmaker. I realized that some of the systems that I would push, because I'm super like systems checklists, let's dial in the back end of the business and organize it. That was coming from me, but it wasn't necessarily necessary for the rainmaker. And so I was constantly getting pushback. And as we've begun to accept who we both are, we've fallen into roles that are more suited for us, and I'm out of the business more. So I guess my questions, and he's happy in the business, and he's leaning into a direction of real estate investment properties and stuff that lights him up more. So I guess my questions are more like, what is redundant and irrelevant as far as systems go? Because systems are great, but if we're like, oh, let me try this to fix this to make this more efficient, and I'm like loading up myself with all of these things that in an attempt to try to make things more efficient, but I'm just not going to yoga, I'm not exercising, I'm not grabbing a cup of tea and having a 5-minute break. I'm not doing those things. Like, those things can't wait, you guys, until you have all this stuff figured out.
That's right.
That's just my like well-being coach kind of, perspective.
And I love it. I love that you're here, because, well-being, you guys, here's the thing, we could have taken a whole different approach with this, right? And at some point I'd love to have Nicole, I want to invite Nicole back to do something in the group where it's all about well-being, like actually journaling, and, being mindful about your body and eating the right things and taking time for tea. I mean, goodness, how many of us would love to just sit down with a cup of tea and a nice movie and have nobody bother us? If you have kids, it's like my dream.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately though, it's a choice. And I know it is not necessarily feasible to go from, having like opening up your whole morning so that you can do all of those things, but you can choose. Like, I'm kind of like, what I think about is like, I think about it from a more transformational perspective, which is like, you can't change the problem at the level that the problem was created. So it's almost like we need to transform our thinking around it and kind of revolutionize the angle that we're coming at from this. So maybe it ends up being like, well, let me see, I know this is crazy, but like, let me see what falls apart if I don't do anything. And let me see what holds together if I don't do anything. And then, oh, well, this is broken. And this actually wasn't even that important. So I'm going to like simplify my systems to only the most, and my activities. We realized that we did the same amount of GCI with so much less stuff. So like, was all that stuff important? Well, it wasn't aligned with our way of being in the business. So for us, it's a lot of those things weren't as important as we thought. So
yeah,
it's taking away instead of adding more in.
That's great. 100%. And I love that. So yeah, we'll invite you back. What other questions does everybody have? Because I want to make sure that you walk away from here feeling empowered. And again, remember, like if you looked at systems or things that you don't even have, again, to Nicole's point, maybe you never need them. It might not matter, right? Just might not. Or maybe as a business person, you're like, I should have that. I want to work towards that. That's a goal. But maybe I do need another person, or I need somebody that needs to be their thing, and it can't be mine anymore. So I can't build it, but I want it. And so I'm going to talk to the boss, or I'm going to, as the boss, say, I do want this. Who could do this? And is it a company? Is it a system? Is it a process? You know, it can't just be on the, the operations team again, if they're already burned out and overwhelmed, right? And so those are all things that we've just got to really look at. And is it going to bring them joy? Is it going to be in their flow state? Like, are they going to like it? Or are they going to totally hate that thing too? And here I am putting all these things that they hate on their list, instead of letting them live in their zone of like, this is what I love, this is what I'm good at, let me do more of this, right? And then maybe bring another person in. So that's what this is all about. What other questions do we have? I love that Scott Gullickson's in here. He's going to hire some N. What else do we have? Any questions? If you guys think of any, you can put it in the Facebook group. We can talk about it with each other. There were like 200 people signed up for this. So I'm glad that it was only us, which is nice, because if you guys need anything, people can hop off, or you can stay here and ask me one-on-one questions, and we can problem solve some things that you've got going on in the business. But feel free to message me too, and let me know like, hey, this is my list. Or better yet, if you draw it or you've got it on paper, snap a picture of the list and be like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, what do I do? Like, I would love to do that. We do that a lot is, once we make these lists and we've got it all highlighted and underlined, then it's really looking at it and going, all right, listen, friend, this is a hire. So let's talk about it, right? So if you're an ops person, again, it's like, okay, well, how much more business can we do before we need to hire another person? And are we just stretching me too thin? And we should have already hired, or, do we just not have enough money floating around? And what does that look like? Again, it could be a $1,250 $1,250 a month. I feel like so many people could get behind. $1,500 a month, people get behind. It's just a matter, if you're going to leverage to a virtual assistant, it needs to be task heavy, and you need to be able to train them. And do you have the bandwidth and the time to train, right? Or not? And if you don't, then you're already in trouble. Right? So then it's like, okay, I'm already in trouble. I'm stressed about training because I don't have enough time, but I know that if I spend 3 months and train somebody, I can offload these things. So then your burnout should go away. One thing I want to also just say is, do not leverage things and then take on a bunch of more things because you just leveraged, unless those are things that you really love and are energized by, right? So in other words, if you're an operations person and you hand off all the marketing, but then are like, now I can do all these things, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to get burned out again if they're not in your wheelhouse. So figure out what your wheelhouse is, figure out where your zone is of like, these give me energy, these bring me joy. Like I I love task heavy things. I like being behind the scenes. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to do all the things. Great. So then guess what? The company probably needs a forward facing person that loves to talk to all the people and loves hanging out, right? So I've got Sean and Bridget. Bridget loves to like go to the house, meet the sellers, put the sign in, do all the things. She probably talks too long, but everybody loves her, right? And she does all the things. Sean hates people. He wants to be behind the scenes, but he can pump out a lot of tasks and he loves it. If he could work from home for the rest of his life, COVID was like the best thing that ever happened to him, right? He loved it. He was like, I'm gonna work from home forever. And I was like, baby. But here's the deal. Like, now we know that both of them love those two things. So like they're in their zones and they complement each other, right? Sometimes we just, when we're hiring a personality and not the people that love these tasks. And we're not figuring out, do you really love these? Like if you say you love marketing, great, show me, do a project. We made Katie do a project when we were hiring her. We were like, all right, here's this project. Show me what you got. She did a really good job with it, right? Here's the deal. Like we knew that would be in her zone. But what's funny is the project was all around marketing stuff and event coordination. Can she do it? Yes, at a high level. Does she like it? We just heard no, right? So in our hiring process, we didn't do the best job of figuring out what her strength zone is because she just wanted the job. So she was looking great for all the things, right? So
And
you got to figure out.
I didn't know that I didn't like marketing until I got into it. And it's like, I'm so much better at organizational and operational stuff. I don't like this as much as I thought I would, but.
She also built out all of Brivity, every plan, did everything there, built the website associated with the help of Brivity. And it's probably the best website I've ever seen in my whole life. And she liked those things and she liked the tasky things, And so, that's, again, is she great? Yep. Could we get her some leverage? Yep. She also works for our marketing wizard and he likes things his way. So that makes it hard too. Make sense? So if you're going to hire, you want to make sure you know exactly what those things are, which now you have that list. And you want to make sure that when you go and talk to somebody, like, do they get jazzed about it? And how do you figure out if they get jazzed? Projects are great, but we need to put them in situations. So run scenarios like, okay, so Katie, let's just use you as an example because you're a great example. And I know Ryan won't kill me for talking about this stuff. So if we've got Ryan, right, who's awesome with marketing, truly, I believe a marketing genius, went to school for marketing, just very good at what he does, right? If we've got him and we've got you, we're very good at the operations stuff and we're bringing in a marketing person, we need to give that person all of the things they're going to hear from Ryan and make them consider not taking the job, right? So it's, if he's looking over your shoulder and he's telling you this isn't right and that's not right, or he doesn't give you enough details and you come with what you think looks like a beautiful postcard, he totally tears it apart. Are you going to be distraught? Is that going to be the worst thing in the world? Right? We got to talk about all those things that you felt in the hiring process and have them come back. And a true marketing person has been torn apart, right? So I was in the marketing world when I was in college and I would put things in front of people. I thought I understood their vision and they would rip it apart. That's probably why I am who I am, because it doesn't even matter to me. I don't feel any, I'm like, all right, collaboration, let's go. You hate this, you hate that, you don't like that color, great, fabulous. Let me figure out how to do this better. Give me, paint done on what this is going to look like. What are all the things that you envision that aren't here, right? And I love the collaboration. It's fun for me. That's energizing. But guess what? I've hired people in the marketing position and totally ruined their day when I'm like, I hate hunter green. It looks old and annoying. Don't ever use that again. And then they think I hate their postcard and hate them. Right. Well, I don't. I just hate hunter green. Like I don't like it. With red, it looks like Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But see, those are like, I was tearing people apart and I didn't realize it. So again, I want you to think through some of that stuff and gain as much clarity. Hopefully you felt like this was good. Yes?
This was very beneficial from my standpoint for sure. So thank you.
Good. I'm so glad. Hopefully anybody that's watching it later, we have it on the inside our Facebook page. But if you guys have anything or you want to post your pictures of things inside the group, even if you're willing to do that. We can all help each other. I think that that's where this becomes really awesome, is when we collaborate on things. So we'd love to help you. Obviously, Soprani Consulting, this is what we do at a high level. We have Ryan Dosen, we have Jake Dreyfus on the team now, and we have one other person that's helping us behind the scenes that we haven't announced yet. But we have, 4 of us that love to consult with people and love to help people build businesses and systems. And we take them through something very similar, but we like to build it for you guys. So if you don't have a 10-year buyer plan, post-buyer plan, we have one. You can have it. And then what we do is hold you accountable to building it. So that's what our consulting is. It's very different than coaching, but coaching and mindset and all those things are very important. So that's why maybe we'll bring Nicole back so she can talk about how to gain clarity around some of these things. But hopefully this was good. Hopefully it starts to alleviate some of that stress that you're holding on to, because you're looking at these businesses going, I have all these things that I need to do. And that's what's burning you out, right? Because you don't have the time to do it, or you don't have the people to do it, right? You're missing something to be able to do it. And we don't want you working until midnight or 1 o'clock every single night. That's burnout, right? So do we need the system? Do we need a person? Do we not need it at all? To Nicole's point. And what does that look like? And is it in my strength zone? Do I love it? Do I hate it? Let's get clarity around all those things so that we can either remove them from our life altogether or bring somebody in that just loves doing those things. Sound good? All right, guys. It was fun being with you. Message me anytime. Let me know how I can help you and assist you. Elizabeth, I'm gonna tell everybody that she can help. She's a wizard in the ops world. She is a coach in Ops Boss Coaching, and we recommend all of our people to continue coaching after they consult with us and train with us. And we always recommend Ops Boss. Nicole Sarempa is a coach around mindset and things like this. So feel free to reach out to her, and we would love to send people her way too if you need help there, gaining clarity and really centering yourself. She's really great at that. So use your resources in here, okay? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lindsay.